there may not be enough evidence for anyone, you or a professional scholar for that matter, to come up with the answer to your question. The fourth and final piece of bad news is that if someone else does all of the work to identify a knowledge gap, and if you want to focus your research on that knowledge gap that someone else has discovered, unfortunately, that gap may close very quickly because the person who discovered it is usually the person who takes the first crack at trying to fill the gap, trying to answer the research question. And if they're successful, then there's nothing left for you to do, at least on that exact research topic. So if someone publishes a book and you read an introduction about the problem or the knowledge gap that this person has discovered, you'll probably also find in the introduction the author's proposal as to what the answer to the research question is, and then the proof in the rest of the book. So if the person is successful, then the knowledge gap opened, but immediately it closed, and there's no opportunity for you to do research on that same topic. Well, I think it's about time that we had some good news after all of this bad news. And the good news is that there is something that keeps knowledge gaps open. And that something is disagreement. If you have a scholar who publishes something and hopes that everyone's going to accept his or her conclusions, but not everybody does, then you can have a disagreement arise when someone publishes a different view, a different answer to the same research question. So what happens in those situations is that the disagreement keeps the knowledge gap open, keeps the issue a live issue, one that is worth discussing, and that means that you, as an undergraduate student or as a graduate student who has to write a term paper in a very short period of time, can capitalize on these situations where you have someone else who discovered the knowledge gap, who did all of that work and all of that reading to find the knowledge gap, but because of the disagreement, the knowledge gap has not closed yet, which means that it's an ideal issue for you to focus your paper on. So disagreements keep knowledge gaps open, and therefore the best way for you to find research topics, if you only have 3 months or less in which to write your paper, is to find a disagreement. The best way to find...
Now, do you understand what he's talking about? Can anyone tell me the answer, what he was talking about? So basically what he discusses is that once you are reading the literature through different articles, it is possible that you find the solution to a particular problem, but it is not always necessary that whatever solution is presented in the literature, you always accept it, because that is just the findings of a person based on his research. You may agree or you may disagree to it. And for example, if you find something where you are not agreed, then you can also conduct your research by collecting a different set of data and either proving or disproving it. So a lot of times it is possible that your research could be based on existing issues where you can collect either new set of information or you analyze the existing information in a different way to provide a new perspective on that research. For example, there may be a lot of research done on fall issues in construction. If you go to OSHA website, you can find a lot of data for the last 30 to 40 years. Now it might be possible that you want to see that what could be the possible reasons for falls. So you may get all the data from OSHA website and may analyze it from a different perspective. For example, you may find a new statistical analysis technique which you think could be useful to find out the new information out of the given data. So that's another easiest way to conduct the research, where you don't need to collect a lot of data or information.
Research topics is to find disagreements. So in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about sources, but finding sources, but it's going to be very closely tied to what we talked about in this video. Because where do you find disagreements? You find them in sources. So I hope you'll be looking for that video in your email, and I want to thank you for watching this one.
Let's watch one more short video and then we will discuss more techniques.
How to find a research topic and question. 6 short steps to research bliss. The first step in finding your topic is to figure out what the assignment is. So pull out your class syllabus or log into the online classroom and figure out exactly what your teacher is asking you to do. The next step is to think about what's the general subject, the overall big picture of the assignment. Is your teacher asking you to write an assignment on your thoughts on diversity? So the broader subject would be diversity. And what are the issues related to that subject? And which ones of those issues are you interested in? You're going to be spending a lot of time with this topic, so it's important to think about what's interesting to you. What would you like to learn more about? To help you answer these questions, concept mapping is a very useful tool. Now you can make a concept map on a good old piece of paper with a pen, or you can go online and find plenty of free websites where you can make concept maps. For the one I did here, I was pretending that the assignment is on diversity. So I just wrote down ideas that came to mind when I was thinking about diversity. So one of them was multiculturalism. That's an important part of the diversity discussion. And when I was thinking about multiculturalism, that made me think about race or ethnicity or equality. You could also think about diversity in the workplace and how that affects employee training or maybe affirmative action policies. You could also think about diversity in communities. So what does that look like in schools, neighborhoods, or churches? Whatever comes to mind, just throw it out on your concept map. It's really important to have this moment to brainstorm and to think of ideas. Now once we've done this step, you can turn your topic into a question. Now you don't want a research question that's too broad, because if it is, it'll be hard to organize your ideas. You also don't want a research question that's too narrow, because there may not be enough to write on. An example of a great research question, especially on the topic of diversity that we were looking at earlier, is how do diversity training programs impact hiring practices in retail organizations? This is a great question that ties in with what we were thinking about as far as diversity in the workplace, so you can see retail organizations, and specifically in training programs, how it shapes and forms employees. So with that example in mind, you can then play with your question. So think about how you can improve it based on the ideas in your concept map. So I just made this list of ideas that were related to diversity. So when I go to research, I could look at diversity, or I could think about multiculturalism, race or ethnicity, or equality, and I could pair up any of those words with these ideas related to workplace. So employment policies, employee training, personnel management. And you can make any combination of these words as you do your research and perfect your research question. So for example, I chose to look up diversity and workplace. And you can plug this into your favorite database. I just chose EBSCO because that's a popular one. And I put in diversity and workplace, click search, and got a lot of results. Now as I read through those articles, I worked on fine-tuning my research question. Based on what you read, be sure to perfect your question. A good research question is clear and focused and interesting to you. Good luck with your work.
Alright, so let me recap some of the ideas we learned through these videos. First of the thing which is very, very important is whatever topic you should pick, it should be realistic. Because a lot of times some of the topics looks very fancy, but once you need